Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Everybody want to know what my Achilles heel is. Love. I don't get enough of it. All I get is these vampires and bloodsuckers. All I get is these people I've made millionaires, milling about, spilling their feelings in the air. All I see is these fake fuck with no fangs, trying to draw blood from my ice-cold veins. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm just going to let that sit for a while.
Just let it percolate.
Jay-Z.
Jays.
Monster.
I'm Harley Neville.
I'm Guy Pizza.
Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
Now, I should point out that to get ready for this podcast, you poured some drinks, you loosened your shoes, but did not take them off.
Out of respect.
But,
Because I'm in your bedroom.
But then also you undid your pants, undid your belt, and have your pants like with your fly undone.
Yeah.
Now, to me, right, I have to say that if to get comfortable, you have to take your belt off, unzip your pants, you have gained a bit of weight.
To that, I would say that I have a belt with quite a large buckle.
Right.
So when you're sitting, it digs into you.
I see the belt buckle.
You see?
The fashionable belt buckle.
Yes, the trendy belt buckle.
You're claiming that it's not a weight gain situation. It's a trendy belt buckle situation.
I have gained weight since, say, for example, I survived a zombie holocaust was shot 5 years ago.
Yep.
But my weight's been pretty steady at around the 77 kilo mark for quite a while now.
Okay. But you don't think possibly there's been some
muscle to fat transfer?
The muscle to fat conversion ratio over a period of years.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not in the best shape of my life.
Well, we're talking about shooting another skit on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which involves you being in your underwear for the entirety of it. And you're like, here's the thing. I'm kind of feeling a bit out of shape at the moment. And I was like, here's the thing. That's not our problem.
Yeah.
We just got to shoot it.
This is not my department. This was your responsibility.
Exactly. Lots of things to talk about on the podcast this week. What do you got?
Well, I had an audition, and it went all right, but I didn't get the role.
So you already know.
So this is not the A to Z one. Okay, so last week we spoke about the A to Z rap, and I read it out, or maybe that was the week before. I don't know.
Yep.
And I did not get that role.
No.
So fuck them anyway.
Well, to be honest, every audition you've talked about on this podcast,
I haven't got.
Yeah.
maybe that's the thing. But to be fair, I also didn't edge.
Yeah.
On the day of the audition.
Yeah.
Now, edging, our new segment, Living on the Edging, is
where Harley talks about masturbating to a point before he comes.
Yeah, you've got to walk the edge between coming and not coming. You know, so you wank until you're right on the threshold, and then you stop. Right, you got to keep your chi in. Now, I got this from
Jason Biggs
in Orange Is the New Black,
of American Pie fame.
I actually reckon there's something to it. And so, I went to a few auditions. I got on the shortlist after edging, right? But with this A to Z audition, I didn't get the opportunity to edge. I hadn't come that day. I was just on my normal amount of about to come, but I never actually, walked the line like that. And so maybe that's why. And then I had another audition.
Do you think that's what Johnny Cash was talking about in that song?
I Walk the Line. Yeah, I do actually. I suspect that's what he was talking about.
He might have been.
Look, all the more successful people are doing it. So please, to the listeners,
Jason Biggs from American Pie, you, and maybe Johnny Cash.
and maybe Johnny Cash. Now, 3 very big success stories. And so, I had I didn't get that role, unfortunately, but I had a second audition just not long after I heard that I hadn't got that role, and since we last spoke, I got an audition, which I went to this morning.
Yeah.
And it went so-so. Pretty so-so. It was. I don't really feel like I got the role. I won't find out for a couple of days.
No lines?
No lines, yeah. Those no dialogue auditions are always pretty tough.
Anytime you got to do some looking acting... looking and imagining something acting, you know why these they say, well, why did Liam Neeson look so wooden in The Phantom Menace when he's this Oscar-winning guy from Schindler's List? Why is Ewan McGregor kind of a bit stilted as Obi-Wan Kenobi? It's because he's looking at a green screen and trying to imagine. He's trying to use his imagination.
He's trying to imagine Jar Jar Binks.
He's trying to imagine Jar Jar Binks going, oh, yeah, Annie, oh, hello. And, that is not great at the best of times. And so anytime you have these auditions for ads, you always hope that there's a bit of dialogue or you're interacting with another person where you can actually do something real, because when it's just and also a lot of these scenarios are completely ridiculous, your one, you've got a giant pet sort of anaconda snake that's 30 foot long.
Imagine that.
Just imagine that. Imagine petting him and saying hello to him. And it's like, well, I don't know how to imagine that. I've never had a 30 foot long anaconda snake before. And so I always find those auditions kind of tricky.
Yeah, same. Well, that's what was happening this morning. It was no dialogue. It was kind of physical comedy, and I guess I hadn't really prepared as much as I should have either. I kind of thought I was like, oh, there's no dialogue, so I don't have to sort of prep too much for it. I'll just go in and sort of see what happens and just rely on my face being naturally funny enough. In hindsight, probably should have just practiced a little bit more. I had to be a bit blocked up as if I was sick.
Right.
Probably could have worked on that, just that sort of and that kind of nasal kind of sound. Not that there's any dialogue, but just for the wheezing. So yeah, I didn't do particularly great, but you never know. It's all about the look. They might just be like, "That's the guy."
Well, what you should have done is gone out and had a massive bender the night before, stayed up all night, didn't sleep at all, so you look and feel terrible. Boom, no need to do any acting.
Well, it's true. There's some merit to that. However, well, I did. The thing was, I also had to have breakfast and meet Angie's mum for the first time this morning before my audition. So my girlfriend's parents are over from Colombia now.
Yep.
I've only met the dad,
The Colombian drug lord and his wife are now over in the country.
They're not Colombian drug lords.
They were let in after some sort of going back and forth, but the passport checked out. And now they're here. And Harley has to be on his best behaviour.
So I had to sing
because a hit could come from anywhere.
From any direction.
It could come from me.
Yeah.
They could pay me to do it.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Well, you are quite poor.
You are desperate and will do anything for money.
So this morning I was meeting with the mum for the first time ever. Never ever. I've been with my girlfriend for 4 years. I've never met her mum. So
how
this
was
morning
she?
was the time for it. So I couldn't really be hungover.
How did that go?
Went fine. Went good as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
It was nice. We had a nice breakfast and stuff. It was off to a good start so far, I think.
Was there any when because they are obviously speaking Spanish for the entirety of it, and you speak Spanish but very poorly. Now, was there some bits where you're like, what the fuck did they just say?
Nah, not really. It was more like I understand most of what they're talking about, but I can't necessarily, respond with anything beyond the basics, you know? Or I can respond in just such bad Spanish that it's almost comical, because you're like, I book reading... went,
Yeah.
But we get by. So that was good, but that meant I couldn't be hungover. And totally unrelated, but in my audition, I was acting across from my wife in the audition was a beautiful French woman.
Right.
Just thought I'd chuck that in there.
Well, was she there, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Beautiful French woman, huh?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Did you give her this I Survived a Zombie Holocaust card?
I didn't. I also didn't make any jokes about exploding inside her. Because that'd be in poor taste, you know?
Well, yeah, only because your girlfriend's parents have just come over. You know, if they had come over that very day, it would have been totally fine.
Yeah, well, and the dead people, the 127 dead people in France, no? That's fine. But so I tell you what though, this is the business. If you are a single gentleman out there and you're listening, or a single woman actually, if you're a single person and you're looking to meet people, this is the industry to sort of bump into and continually be working with and associating with beautiful people such as ourselves.
Yep. So if you want to bag some hot babes, get into the filmmaking / acting industry.
Mm-hmm. The proof is in the pudding, because here you and I are with our beautiful babes.
Well, they're actually gone at the moment.
Well, yeah, I was going to say.
Thank God.
We have the flat to ourselves because for
Lords of the Manor.
For the next few days, both of our girlfriends are gone. And you know what they say, when the cat's away, the mouse will smoke weed and masturbate. Or something like that. I'm sure it goes like that.
Porn, right. We can just now, porn has... gone from this clandestine sort of quickly shut down all the things. Yeah. Now porn is just on the big screen in our lounge, just on 24/7, just playing off one of our laptops. So should we want to do a drive-by beat when we go and get something to eat?
Breakfast?
What's the breakfast or something? We've got to do the dishes. Just have a drive-by beat, swing by the big screen TV.
Yeah.
Could never do that before.
No.
Could never do that when the girls were here.
Yeah, every time you hear a creak, every time the house settles a little bit, you hear a creak. Oh shit! Command W. Command W.
just like, and you hear some noise and you leap to your feet, pull your pants up, and kind of walk around the house checking if someone's coming back, someone's come home. None of that now.
You see, now this is why I like to continually be around my home. I like to be in a continuous sort of state of semi-undress, right? Because that means when you walk into my room and I'm lying there in my undies, in a stupor, in
a wank
stupor, you can't guarantee that I've been wanking. It's just hey, that's just Harley. He probably was wanking, but there's no reason in particular to think he was. The fact that he doesn't have clothes on is not an indicator.
That's not a direct giveaway.
Yeah, I can't read with pants on, for example.
Yeah.
I read pantless as a general rule.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I did come in the other day.
I read and podcast pantless.
I came in the other day. You were reading, supposedly, quote unquote. You did have your pants off. You did not have any underwear on. So you were really naked.
I was butt naked
in the bed reading.
But I was in bed. Now, to be fair, I had
middle of the day.
Well, it was the late afternoon.
It was 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And I had come home from work, and I was like, I'm going to read my book and have a siesta. I'm going to read my book and have a siesta. And so I was in bed. Now I sleep naked. And so I was reading my book naked in preparation for the sleep. And then you came in.
That story kind of checks out.
It totally checks out.
As a viable excuse, at least.
And the book I was reading was A Bridge Too Far, made into a famous movie.
Yep.
And a video game too. So it'd be weird if I was masturbating to that.
Well, that's because that's a World War II.
Yeah. So it's very tactical. It's about Eisenhower and Montgomery and, Patton and what they're all up to. Operation Market Garden and the famous Allied defeat. And it would be weird to be masturbating to that. Although that, of course, is part of the cover, isn't it? You put the old World War II book next to you so that nobody knows you're wanking.
And also that you will bore anyone straight away. As soon as they come in, they don't want to like ask too many questions because they see that you're reading this boring as fuck World War II book that and you immediately want to get the hell out of there, and so you just go, oh yeah, just reading my World War II book, honey. And she's like, oh god, well I'll be far away from you then.
Actually, Guy, a lot of lessons can be learnt from history, my friend. You know, history is destined to repeat itself if we don't learn from it, okay? So it's very important that we all read about World War II and how it came to be.
Well, speaking of not World War II, but history, and another one of your big your heroes, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Not to be confused with Mike Tyson, not to be confused with deGrasse, the teen high school Canadian show which Drake used to be on, but Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't know if you say the E in deGrasse. I thought it was just Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, how does he say it?
I thought he said, hi, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Probably.
I don't think he said Grassy.
I think maybe deGrasse, because I'm thinking of that TV show, which was said deGrasse.
Yeah.
So you're probably right about that. But anyway, your hero, he's wrote some books that you've read, I imagine.
I have never actually read a book that he's written, and I don't actually know if he's even written a book.
I'm sure he has. But he was the presenter on the most recent Cosmos.
Yep. That was an amazing series. Just the new Cosmos. Like, the old Cosmos was good, but the new Cosmos, amazing.
So amazing.
One of my faves.
I got bored after 5 episodes.
See, Guy hates learning about the universe or life.
I was open. My mind was open, and it said all these gay drawings and depictions of what's happening in 1400.
There you go again, using gay in a derogatory term, you barbarian.
I was just like, what is this shite? And when are we going to get to some cool shit? What the fuck is a microbe anyway? What the magnets?
How do they work? Fucking magnets. How do they work?
So anyway, it was all a bit. This children's show was all a bit dense for me. It got a bit too dense, and I kind of tuned out. But I am meaning to return to it at some point.
You should definitely return to it because it does have a few episodes that are a bit more dry. I still thought they were good and interesting, but some of it is a bit more dry when they're finding out, you know, how whatever Newton or whoever fucking figured out his shit, you know, or whoever figured out, you know, about like, I don't know, whatever, the different colours of light and the spectrum and stuff like that. You know, that's a little bit dry. But like, some of the later episodes, I forgot
about that boring bit.
Some of the late, like, you know,
the spectrums.
Yeah, it does get. What's interesting, you find out how he figured it out, which is kind of interesting. But still, anyway, later on, as the series progresses, I really feel like it addresses some really interesting stuff, like. You know, like it projects forward into what humanity might be like if our civilization doesn't fall. If a civilization were around for a really, really long time, what would the future be like?
Or forget Cosmos, just watch Interstellar. Sorted.
You should watch Interstellar. A
lot more entertaining, a lot more action.
That's not true.
A lot more space stuff.
If I had to sit down in a room with one or the other, I would sit down with Cosmos.
Oh, come on, bro. He goes into the fifth dimension.
I really liked Interstellar, but, you know, Cosmos is fucking the boss. But so anyway, my homie Neil deGrasse Tyson, were you going to talk about how he didn't tweet me back?
Well, you sent a tweet to him, which in, like, hindsight seemed super overtly gay and rapey
and a little bit racist.
Yeah, well, I didn't feel it was racist, but certainly, you know, I mean, so basically, you know, we talked about the last episode that you should tweet him your rap lyrics.
Yeah.
And, you know, you were like, okay, I will do that. So you did tweet him your lyrics, your cleverest science rap lyrics, which basically sort of made all these sciencey sayings.
Should I say the lyrics?
Well, yeah.
So I tweeted at Adam saying, "Hey, dear Mr. Tyson, you've inspired me. I love your work. You've inspired me to write some space raps."
Yeah.
And the lyrics were, "My dick's a light year long, spaghettification. But your black hole's my destination. I was attracted by your big-ass gravitation. Then I came so quick, like time dilation. My balls have reached their infinite mass. I'm going to fill up your Marineris crevasse. So get yourself checked, 'cause panspermia can pass. I give the gift of life. It's been living in my pants."
Now, you might go, how could he even sent that to him? Because that's more than 180 or 140 characters. Yeah, this is how far Harley took it. He took a screen grab of his lyrics, all beautifully typed up, and sent the screen grab to him as a tweet. Yeah. So he didn't go past the 140 character limit.
Yeah,
but there was definitely some problems. So one, obviously, if you just listen to those lyrics kind of out of context, you might think that he was talking about the person that he was tweeting. This was further solidified by the fact that, you said you did a typo. You didn't say "Dear Mr. Tyson." You said "Dear My Tyson." So you said "Dear My Tyson." You've inspired me. I've got these rap lyrics for you. And then basically it all sounded very much like you were talking about him and what you'd like to do to him using science.
Yeah, and then there was also just, obviously when it was written, it wasn't aimed directly at Mr. Tyson.
It was aimed at
the universe
a fictional woman in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, I was talking about black holes, obviously the space phenomenon, but he's a black man.
And so you didn't really think that through.
I didn't really think that through either. So basically, in rap code,
homoerotic.
I used a bunch of space analogies to say I wanted to fill up his black ass, is essentially what I said.
Yeah.
Good idea, guy. Good idea. He didn't reply.
He did not reply, and he did not favorite that one.
He did not favorite that one.
I thought that was quite hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm sure he read it. I'm sure he read it.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so.
Debasing yourself in front of your heroes.
Yeah.
So, I got a couple of things to talk about. Now, last week on the podcast, we speculated on who the A-list star with HIV was. And now it's come out. It was not, as we guessed, Leonardo DiCaprio or Colin Farrell. It was Charlie Sheen.
So obvious.
It isn't obvious. It was a misleading thing initially to say an A-list star, because Charlie Sheen is not an A-list star. He was an A-list star in the 80s. He fell out of grace. He became an A-list TV star, which is not A-list. Being the top TV star is not the same as being the top movie star. It's good, but it's not A-list. Also, he is not an A-list even TV star now, like he was when he was in 2.5 Men before he got fired for going on his cocaine prostitute binge. But after that, he's starring in a not very good show that it's not super popular.
Anger Management.
Yeah, which is just kind of like...
Well, it's been cancelled anyway.
And it's been cancelled. And so that was the... So to say he was an A-list star was misleading. If you said a TV star, I think we would have had a better guess. 2, you shouldn't have said A-list.
I was okay with the A-list thing. I was kind of like, yeah, I totally get it that he's no longer really a total A-lister, but, the guy is a bit of a legend. He's been around for so long. He definitely used to be an A-lister, and it still works for me. I still would be like, oh, yeah, well, you're not going to meet many people more famous than Charlie Sheen, you know?
And he did mention that he'd been, he's coming out
he's
about
more famous than Colin Farrell, I would say.
Maybe, but... just because TV reaches a wider audience.
No, because he's been around for so long doing it as well, though.
Well, Colin Farrell's been around a good 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 15.
But Platoon, bro.
Yeah, but if you said, have you seen Platoon, or have you seen SWAT to someone in their 20s, they'll probably go, what's Platoon?
Red Dawn, some good shit. I used to love that movie.
Well, let's not forget...
Hot Shots.
Hot Shots. Hot Shots Part 2.
Yeah.
They were great films.
Yeah.
But anyway, and Scary Movie 3. Let's not forget Scary Movie 3 and 4.
Yeah. I barely remember those.
And you wouldn't want to. But anyway, so he's been diagnosed with HIV. He has all sorts of stories. Maybe he slept with 5,000 women, he calculated, or something like that, which is too many. It's too many.
Well, you only live once.
Yeah, but 5,000 is... you know.
I mean, it's got to be a lie, right? Because, the maths doesn't add up. We're talking...
Yeah, well, it would be more like 1,000 probably.
Yeah.
Over a 20-year period. But anyway, so he got HIV. He found out about it 4 years ago. He's been keeping it a secret. Some prostitutes and stuff have been trying to blackmail him, and he's paid them hush money. And so...
How did the prostitutes find out when nobody else...
Well, because there's the thing.
Figured it out.
I think he's got to say, look, I've got HIV.
Yeah.
Just to warn you.
But how did they try and blackmail him before it had come out?
Oh, so they were like, well, I know you have HIV, and I have these photos of your medicines, your HIV medicines.
Oh, so what? He invited him round to their place, left his HIV medicine lying around.
Well, no, I think they came round. He slept with them. His HIV medicine's lying around because he's got it on him at all times. They took a cheeky photo as he was sort of passed out on coke, on a crazy coke bender.
Yeah.
And, but it does put a whole new spin on the whole tiger blood thing, doesn't it? He's got that was one of his famous rants that he was winning and then he had tiger blood and he was invincible. And it turns out he's got HIV, which makes him very invincible.
Well, also, though, it turns out that they reckon that it's undetectable now in his blood.
Yeah, so it's like the most well-managed HIV you could get, which, HIV is the same thing, but, if you have the right treatment, it's now not seen as a terminal illness anymore. It's seen as, pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Except the fact that it's...
Loose definition of pretty sweet.
Yeah, pretty sweet by comparison to what it used to be, which was soon you'll get AIDS and then you will die.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you will be fine as long as you keep taking this stuff.
Yeah.
And so apparently at this low-level, undetectable stage, it's also quite safe to sleep with people with HIV. It's very unlikely to be passed on. But... there's still obviously a risk there.
Yeah.
So what do you make of the Sheenster there?
I think it's a shame because, he really did have a good career overall. And especially when you consider that here's a guy with a massive drug problem, partying hard, even though he's 50, he's been doing it for a long time. So here's this guy who somehow managed to hold down a very successful career, the most highly paid TV star ever, if I'm not mistaken, $1.8 million per episode of 2.5 Men towards the end there. And here's a guy who, while getting $1.8 million per episode, is fucking lots of women and doing far too many drugs, and just kind of commendable that you can really keep that balance, but now it's all of that, because these rants he went on and going a bit crazy, that definitely kind of marred his good reputation, but it kind of just made him a bit more interesting, I guess, but now being the guy that got HIV and then potentially knowingly spread it to people, that's really reprehensible. That's not really haha, you're a party animal who fucks prostitutes and does lots of drugs. Well, it's all pretty forgivable. It's like, oh well, good for you, good for him.
Yeah.
But if you're having sex with people and you've got HIV and you're not telling them, well, that's pretty horrible, and it's something that's definitely going to sort of permanently kind of be associated with his name, like when you read about his Wikipedia in 50 years, long after he's dead, it's one of the main things about it is going to be the fact that he died from HIV, probably.
Yeah, well, also, is Wikipedia going to be there in 50 years?
Well,
the servers have gone down. Well, we might have gone dark by then. Well,
yeah, the government-sponsored and censored version of Wikipedia. Yeah. We'll talk about it.
But that's interesting. It is kind of an interesting thing because, most people with HIV tend to be gay. There's a much higher risk in the gay community, and what normal stars that end up sort of coming out are often gay, looking through history, with the exception of maybe Magic Johnson.
Eazy-E.
And Eazy-E, yes, who died. But, so it's kind of like, are more people going to come out? Or is this kind of a rare thing because he slept with so many people and was not very careful?
Well,
I mean, he could have got it from...
what's the connection?
He could have got it from drugs.
Yeah, well, he could have, because he did do intravenous drugs as well. So if you're sharing needles, because you got to get that hit, that's obviously a way that a lot of people get it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little update on Charlie Sheen.
So you came to the right place, people. A couple of dickheads from New Zealand, the arse end of the world. That's our summary on the Charlie Sheen situation, which happened a week ago.
DiCaprio was a good guess.
I did think DiCaprio was a good guess, and I believe it was Sam last night from Chris and Sam. He's a listener, and he said that he thought that was a really good guess.
But yeah, so other thing to mention, we haven't had someone die on the podcast recently. We haven't made a death announcement.
No.
But Jonah Lomu, the famous rugby star, the poster boy of rugby, the guy that sort of transcended rugby for a time and everyone wanted to know all about him and, was he going to go to the NFL or whatever. He died 40 years old from complications through diabetes, basically. I mean, he'd had his kidney replaced, I think.
Don't look at me. I don't know shit about it.
And that worked for a while, but then his body rejected it, and so he was on dialysis. He was on dialysis for 6 hours a day.
Ooh.
Apparently it's very painful. And sort of he said that, what got him through was that he wanted to live for his sons. And that's what he'd sort of think about it, but it was, it could be quite tough. And he was only 40 years old. He's very young.
Yeah.
So, it is a bit sad. Like, I'm not a big rugby fan, but he always seemed like a very nice guy. He always sort of was like represented rugby well. You didn't hear about him getting into fights and knocking over, people half his size and doing some of the more sort of reprehensible stuff that you read about some sort of rugby stars ended up doing. And he did inspire a nation at one stage. And in fact, we had a tribute to John Alomu in I Survived the Zombie Holocaust, which was cut out. But there was a segment from there's a famous bit where John Lomu scores a try, and I think it's Keith Quinn, the rugby commentator. So it's like, Lomu, when we would try and find the clip, and he's kind of becomes at a loss for words. He's like, like he's coming. Keith Quinn is jizzing his pants over John Alomu's try, and it's this unprecedented Keith Quinn jizz on air. Never happened before. He never quite ever got to that that point of coming in his pants with any other rugby player. But when he saw Jonah just stride him for that line, he just could not help himself. And it's documented live, and we will play that clip. And so we repeated that, although, and not to give too many spoilers away, but basically someone makes a sort of charge through the zombies, a sort of epic fashion, and Wesley, Harley's character, sort of commentates it for a bit, and he references that moment.
Yeah.
And it was in there for quite a while.
Yeah.
It was in there for quite a while, and then it got cut out towards the end. It was just kind of like, is this too cheesy? Is it like too weird? Like, does this are even people going to remember?
Well, I sort of fucked it up as well because I hadn't seen it.
But didn't you? I swear that you did watch the clip. I'm 100% sure.
I seem to recall on the night. I thought that what happened was on the night when we were filming, I had read the script and I knew what my lines were, but I don't think I realised that it was a parody of something that had happened in real life.
Right.
And then on the night, you were like, yeah. So it's like this bloody Keith Quinn thing or whatever. And I was like, right. And, back then it wasn't like you just whipped out your cell phone.
Yeah.
In
2011.
In 2011, way back then, it wasn't like you just whipped out your cell phone and like looked it up on YouTube.
No,
yeah, got it.
To be fair, in 2011, you would have had probably a button phone, right?
I guess so.
But you probably, if you didn't, you wouldn't have had the internet probably connected at that point.
No, well, certainly, yeah, yeah. So, it wasn't like you just watch it, and so I didn't really know what I was attempting to mimic. either, so I don't know that I necessarily did the best job at it.
I think it was all right, but yeah, it was just one of those things where it was like, I don't know. It's it's a fine line with the horror comedy is how much comedy are you going to do, because the sort of the goofier that you make it, the more you take away from the stakes of it. And you want to have stakes. You want to still feel like these characters are in jeopardy. You still want to worry about their fate. You still want to, be made tense by the tense scenes. And the more you push towards comedy, the less of all that you have. You're not really, you're quite relaxed. You're just laughing. You're having a great time, and nothing seems to really be that meaningful. And so it was just kind of pulling that back, but that was in there. So rest in peace, John Olomu. Sorry you didn't make it into the film, and very sorry to hear that you passed away at such a young age, but you were a legend, an ambassador for the game. So thank you for those times and being a special athlete. What else you got?
Nice. Very, very tactful. That was great. That was beautiful. Now, I was going to say something about I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. That's right. The other day, I went to the How Not to Be an Asshole podcast, live podcast. And while I was there, before the podcast or after the podcast was finished, I was sitting by myself, sort of out in the smoking area.
With all your friends.
And I don't even smoke. I was just sitting out there just by myself, just basically just lurking around, waiting for them to, waiting for an opportunity to swoop in and try and talk to them.
Yeah.
And
to bevan your way over.
To bevan my way over to them and just go, sweet.
Hey guys, what are you doing? Sweet.
And then, so I was sitting there in the smoking area, and this band came over who were playing that night, and we got to talk, and there's a few of them, there's 3 of them, 4 of them, something like that. And anyway, one of the guys, Zane, I don't know, I can't remember what he played in the band, but anyway, and I can't remember the band name, but they were supposed to add me on Facebook and they haven't yet, so I can't plug their band, so fuck them. But like, this band anyway, the guy Zane from the band had seen I Survived the Zombie Holocaust, and I'd have got no connection to him. That's the first time I've bumped into somebody who's been just a random that you get talking to, because normally, like, honestly, 10 times out of 10, when I talk to people,
11 times out of 10.
When I talk to people, they go, "Oh, what are you up to? What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I make movies. I made a film called I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. It came out earlier this year." None of the time, 0% of the time do they ever say, "Oh, I've seen that, it was really good," or even just, "I've seen that." They just go, like, if you're lucky, they say, "Oh, I think I've heard about that.
I've heard of that.
I think I've heard about that." But do you know what? I think that 9 times out of 10, when they think they've heard of it, they've actually heard about Zombie Holocaust. Not I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, but Zombie Holocaust, the old cult movie.
Yeah, right.
Because that's, I mean, I had heard about that before I heard about I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. Before I Survived the Zombie Holocaust existed, I'd heard of Zombie Holocaust.
Or they're thinking of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, well, that too.
So they're basically associating something completely different.
Yeah.
Yes, the chasm, right, between our film and our film's potential audience in New Zealand is vast. It is really, really, really big. It's really. Sometimes I get telling people about this film and hearing that they haven't heard of it fatigue, where I'm just sort of like, am I even going to say? I just say I directed a film. I can't even be bothered going into I Survived Zombie Holocaust. Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Oh, maybe heard of that one, but I haven't seen it, I'm afraid. Sorry, I haven't seen that one. Sorry, I haven't seen that. Oh, no, I think I missed that one. I'll have to check it out.
Well, this is why it was very refreshing to have this dude.
Actually have this one guy.
Yeah, he was like, hey, oh, really? You made that? Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. I sat, me and a whole bunch of mates sat down and watched it. And I was like, fucking A. And he said it was good, but he would say that,
Yeah, he has to.
He's not going to say, it was a piece of shit, wasn't it?
He's still going to be like the guy in Older.
To quote Older, the movie that's not out yet. Spoiler.
Well, that's been cut.
That's been cut anyway.
That line's been cut.
Yeah.
Thought it was too unrealistic.
Yeah. And nobody says that. But yeah. On another note, I've got an audition on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which is yesterday if you're listening to this on Sunday.
Yep.
and it's another American one for this time for a paint company, and no dialogue.
That's good though, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
because you don't have to practice your American accent.
Exactly. You just walk in, fucking look where they tell you to look, and then fucking walk out and hope for the best.
Yep. Yes, that's the only time. So, you normally like a bit of dialogue, like a bit of reacting, but if you don't have any dialogue, you hope that it's a foreign ad, because then you don't have to master
some accent.
You don't have to pay $150 for a half-hour Skype session to try and get an accent down half-assedly.
Because the one from today as well, the one I had this morning was an American ad as well, but once again no dialogue, so I was lucky. So
you are averaging an audition a week.
It's kind of lately it has been almost an audition a week, which has been pretty fucking amazing, pretty awesome.
Whereas I average maybe one every 3 months.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I'd say about that. One is that your agent, who we won't name because the industry is too small, but your agent doesn't give a shit about you because you're a tiny little fish who's up to fuck all as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
And your agent's a bit of a swanky one.
Yeah.
And
boutique.
And you're not in their top tier of actors that they give a shit about.
I'm far down the totem, right down.
Same agent. That's nice. Did you make that up?
Yeah,
Shane? That's not bad. Yeah. Write it down. Put it in a rap.
Yeah. Copyright. Guy picked it on this podcast.
So I used to be with the same agent that Guy's still with, and it was all right. I got a few auditions, but not heaps. And I definitely got the impression that I wasn't very important. And then they dropped me. I just got an email one day saying, "Hey Harley, we decided to cut back on our books." Which is just a lie. They were just fucking straight up lying to me. And I was like, we'll decide to cut back on the amount of people we have on the books, so see you later. Yeah. And I replied, hey, look, I'm really sorry that I haven't really been updating you with what I've been up to, but I have been working on things. Here's all the shit I've been doing. And also I'm booked in next week, coincidentally, to get some new headshots done as well. So, how about you just wait until these headshots come in before you make this decision, and then you can still say no if you want. No reply. They just didn't reply to me, and that put them directly on the blacklist.
Yeah,
a reply email saying, "Hey, no, sorry," but nothing, just no reply. But then it turned out to be a blessing, because I then changed over to Catherine Rawlings, who is, as far as I'm aware, kind of a mid-tier one in the Auckland scene, a mid-tier agent in the Auckland scene. But I've actually had way more auditions, and as a result, scored 3 ads.
Well, I also feel that I hamstrung myself, because I think at this beginning they're like, oh yeah, we'll trust this guy with kind of TV. We'll put him forward for those kind of TV roles, those kind of bit part TV roles and tele-feature roles. And then I botched an audition really badly where I forgot my lines.
Yeah.
And the casting agent was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, just give me 1 second. And I pulled out my lines and had to look at my lines.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because it was just because I was nervous. It wasn't because I actually didn't remember my lines.
It was performance anxiety.
And it was. I was stressing. I was like, just give me a second, all right?
This never happens to me. This has never happened before.
I'm pretty sure I did. I said, this has never happened to me before. I don't know. I just let me just give me 1 second, and then I faced away from them, hunched over, and furiously pulled out my lines and leafed through them. Just give me a second, all right? And then I think I did do the audition, but also the other big problem with that audition was that the dialogue was so shit. I have a real problem with remembering shit dialogue.
We all do.
Really stilted, weird, sentences really throw me, and I really struggle to kind of get, because, my brain tries to put, words in the right order, English, how you would be. How you would form sentences in real life. And so my brain tries to do that to these, kind of these weird movie speak. And then, somewhere along the line, and then that completely trips me up. And so that's kind of what happened there. But ever since then, I've noticed that I've only been put forward for ad roles and student shorts. But, speaking of auditions, I've got an audition.
Whoa!
for a student short film.
Right.
And actually, I'm going to sort of look into it a bit more, because basically it's...
you should definitely do it.
Well,
either way.
but the problem is, I'm not going to do it if these guys are real dodge. You know, there's got to be, because it's like... And look, this is only even assuming I got it right, but I wouldn't like... It's like 10 pages of just talking to camera, basically, intercut with scenes of me doing the things.
Yeah.
But there's so much there is literally 10 pages of dialogue to learn, just as basically a long monologue. And of course that will be broken up a bit, but it would be quite nightmarish to learn. And basically it's actually kind of an interesting... It's basically about a hobo who is training to do some street fighting to get enough money to, you know, get a lease on a flat. And that's kind of what the story is, so he can see his daughter. And it's kind of shot, and it's a mockumentary, and it's kind of so it's kind of like pseudo-real, but also quite humorous in a lot of, you know, the stuff that he's doing, like, you know, showering nude in the park, and you know, that sort of thing. And so it's kind of quite an interesting thing. If it were done well, it would be actually pretty cool. But also, you know, this is like a 10 or 15 page script that they're going to try and do in 2 days. And I don't think, because it's, you know, got so many locations, I think it's very unlikely that they'd manage to pull that off. And for it to really work, because there is a lot to do. And obviously, as a filmmaker, I was sort of internally breaking down that script. So if I get a bit more info about these people and they seem reliable, I'll put my hand up to audition for that. But
did you hear about this through your agent?
Yes.
Right. So they must be fairly legit if they've got your agent casting for them in a way.
I've seen some dubious calls come through.
But I mean, if they're even using an agent, then an acting agent, then they must be to a certain level. Like, for example, when we were shooting our films at the beginning of our filmmaking, we never used, you know, acting agents because we just were too unprofessional.
No, but I think actually we could have bluffed our way into doing that, and I do feel like a lot of these ones are that, which is basically they're like, look, we can email, we can do a blanket email for you, but you know, we can't endorse this. Yeah. And I think that's what this is.
Right.
But yeah, so I might be auditioning for that hobo role.
Yeah.
Bare knuckle hobo.
I'm inclined to say that you should do it.
But the thing,
because you haven't really acted in anything for quite a while.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm not worried about that, because I'm lining up. In fact, if you look to your left, Harley, you'll see a note that says skit ideas.
Yeah.
And you see a long list.
Yeah.
Of a quarter page.
Yeah.
That I have put together here.
Yeah.
For us to do. So I'm not too worried about being out of form.
All right. Well, good to hear. Now, exciting times coming, really. It looks like we are going to be shooting some more things soon. Yeah. And we haven't shot any... I mean, we shot the sort of the behind-the-scenes making of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust that required mostly editing of old footage.
Nightmarish amount.
But it had a small amount of us filming stuff to camera.
Yeah.
But, you know, just in our lounge, just sitting there. And it was... that was really the last thing we sort of filmed. And before that was...
Bloody good, though. I rewatched that the other day and I was like, shit, this is a nice little piece of work I just pulled off here.
No, it's great. I really like it. I rewatched it the other day as well, randomly. I rewatch it periodically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we haven't shot anything major, though, since Older, which was coming up to 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
2 full years. Our camera's been sitting in there gathering fucking dust, basically.
Yeah.
And so, but it looks like now with this new semi-pro thing, where guys working 3 days on and 4 days on Pigville, 3 days back on his normal job, 4 days on Pigville, you know, shit's happening, shit's rolling along, things are developing, and so we have a few shoots planned. And the other day we went out and we did a test shoot for a poem that we're going to film sometime in the next month or so, of my poem Gravity, the religion one, and it looked good.
It did look good, and
Found a good location.
Yep, shooting out in the Auckland domain.
Good location.
Basically, look, what do you think that building looks like? It's like a Colosseum, right? Like Rome, like Greece.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid I don't know what the architecture would be of that big museum in the domain. If any of the listeners know, feel free to let us know.
Kind of reminds me of like a Roman building.
Yeah, well, I guess it is kind of definitely
the pillars.
Yeah, the pillars and the inscriptions above the arches when you walk in and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess it is got a bit of a sort of a Greek or Roman kind of vibe to it.
So yeah, we're going to try and film that shortly. We're just waiting for some equipment because we're sort of upgrading our camera, and this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
So we're going to talk about filmmaking a little bit. Basically, what we're trying to do is upgrade our camera. We've got a Canon 5D Mark III, which, 3 years ago was the shit. It was good. It did the job, and it's still good. It's still really good for sort of low-end film production. And, we shot the entirety of Older on it, and Older looks pretty nice.
It looks amazing. All the scenes I've seen look really nice.
It looks quite
very cinematic.
Quite tasty. But, now new cameras have come onto the market and kind of superseded it and its sort of capabilities. But there is a hack, basically, by Magic Lantern, which is like a software, group of people that basically it's a patch that you download and then you put the SD card into your Canon, and it basically unlocks the ability to shoot RAW footage. Now, the difference between RAW footage and what you normally shoot is you normally shoot footage that is being compressed to an H.264 QuickTime file. And that makes everything very small, so you can fit it on these SD cards, and you can shoot a lot. But through that compression, you lose a huge amount of quality. You're not shooting what the camera can see and take in. You're seeing what the camera can see, take in, compress, and crunch down to this tiny little file, and then spit out to you all in one. And that means that you come up to certain limitations. Now, unlocking this thing, you shoot on RAW, and it's the full image. It's the best quality that the camera can possibly produce. And it's, you might hear about talking about there's HD, then there's 2K, and then there's 4K. So 4K is the highest resolution that you can get, which is like 4 times HD. 2K is 2 times HD. And so we're essentially unlocking this camera to shoot at 2 times HD, but it means that the file sizes leap up from sort of being able to shoot like an hour's worth of footage on one card to being able to shoot 20 minutes of footage on one card that is bigger than all the cards we currently own. And also then you start talking about hard drive space. How do you make room for it on your computer? So we've had to buy a bunch more hard drives. So we're waiting for some fast cards. You need fast CF cards, both to fit more on, but also to handle the data rate of those high quality images. The current cards that we have would kind of freeze and seize up because they couldn't process the data fast enough because it's so big.
So you can go RAW, but it's bad for your STD cards.
Yeah. If you want to use that analogy, if that's easier for you to quantify. So we're looking at doing that so we can just kind of up our production value a little bit, up our game, and then shoot some nice videos. Because the problem is we're the comedy guys, We're the goofy comedy guys. Who don't pay too much attention to what things look like as long as they're funny.
Is that true?
Well, it certainly has been in the past.
Well, it was 10 years ago.
Well, that was the last time we put out any skits online.
Nah, that's not true. We put out some stuff since entering into the
older. DSLR age.
Yeah. And they look nice. I thought they looked nice.
They do look not too bad. I agree. There's a couple.
The Guy in Harley show is a good example.
And the classic Super Saiyan shit.
Yeah.
It's actually called a new power level.
Yeah, and then I think I changed it to something.
Super Saiyan shit.
And then I changed it to something like Hairy Man Takes a Dump or something like that to try and get more views on YouTube,
Did that work?
I don't think so. Hairy man dyes back hair blonde and then takes a dump. It's something more productive. I tried changing shit New Zealand girls say into slutty drunk tranny to see if that would get some more views. That one didn't really work.
and I guess that's the thing. I mean, I think because we sometimes get these ideas in our head of like what is going to go quote unquote viral.
To be fair, Kiwi shit New Zealand girls say did
get a lot of views.
They got like 80,000 views, like kind of straight away.
Monetized?
I think it was. It would have been. I'd say it would have been, unless it came out in that period where we couldn't monetize for it. There was a wee while where we had some problems with our account, our AdSense account. But I think it was monetized. But the thing is, the 80,000 views is nothing. You know, like a million views is about between $1,000 and $1,500. So 80,000 views. It's, I don't know, what's that, $50 or something, maybe, if you're lucky, over the lifetime of it. It's only had 80,000 views total, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, we're just looking to do some slicker look at. Well, I always feel the problem is like when I put myself forward for directing gigs and stuff like that, if people don't watch the zombie film, they can't really watch anything, you know, to take me seriously.
Well, there's, the Guy and Harley show.
The
sitcom.
But even that, if you're not on board for some
rape jokes
and terrible orgasms, you know, you might immediately be like, what the fuck is this shit? And so, you know, what I think people really want to see is actually, and this is a shame, but this is the way of the industry, is that they don't actually really want to see you directing anything. What they want to see is some pretty stuff you've directed, which really doesn't have that much to do with you, but much more to do with your cinematographer and your budget. And so what they want to see is like these sort of really slick looking music videos or ads or shorts that look really beautiful. And then they're like, oh, okay, I trust this guy. Even though really, you know, you should be able to look at something that really looks like, you know, crap, but you're like, oh, well, great performances. But that's not the way of the world.
Yeah, it's not. And I think, though, that when a director puts out something that's high quality, like has high production value, even if it's all just the money and the cinematographer and, you know, the lighting and all that stuff, it does show, though, because, you know, I mean, essentially the director is the orchestrator.
Sure.
I mean, really, the producer is the orchestrator.
Really the director does fuck all.
The director does fuck all, but you know, the people think that, you know, the director is the orchestrator, so they go, okay, well, look, if this guy can put out this thing which looks amazing, well, I know that the next thing he's going to make is going to be looking presumably at least as amazing as this, if not better, hopefully. You know, you're not going to start putting out shittier stuff, you know, aesthetically. You know, the story might be worse and all that, but, you know, aesthetically it's going to look just as good, presumably, because that's your skills. So I reckon they think that you are the sort of the choreographer of the whole production, you know? That's why they do that.
Well, also, you know, and I think this is another reason why it's like, well, why haven't we really shot anything? You know, part of the reason is that I've been so busy with the zombie film, finishing the zombie film and then promoting the zombie film. That's the number one reason. But I think the second reason is that there's now a bit of pressure. It's like, look, you guys just can't do shitty looking things anymore.
Yeah.
You finished a feature film. Like, your standards have like gone up, they've taken this huge leap, and unfortunately that leap often means that to kind of reach that standard again, you have to shell out a lot more dough. You know?
Well, there's all the things such as all the post-production really needs to be done to a very high standard nowadays. You know, even for smaller productions of ours, simply for that reason, you know, it feels like there's this pressure. Okay, the zombie film, Older's looking really good. The trailer for Older, you know, sets a really high standard. Like,
so what are you going to do? Like, then put out something that is like not sound mix, ungraded, and kind of looks a bit average, and everyone's like, oh, what happened to the Pigville guys are really fucking let themselves go.
Yeah, but it's the problem with that, of course, is that it's not conducive to creativity. No. You know, you want to be able to just poop any old thing out and just have fun, and you know, and if it's not very good, well, that's not the end of the world because you're already working on the next one. Yeah. But that's not how it happens when you've got to get it color graded, when you've got to get the sound mix, you've got to get an original score created. Yeah, you know, you've got to do all that stuff,
and then it's not cheap. And I think the beauty of like our sort of upcoming projects, Operation Shoot Some Shit, is basically that there's like some high end stuff that will take a bit of money. There's some sort of medium stuff which will take a bit of money. And then there's some sort of low-end stuff which are sort of internet-based skits which don't probably need all of those things and can still be very enjoyable and very cool. So I'm really looking forward to some of these ones which are a bit less pressure, and we're just going to have fun and shoot them and see what happens. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, we definitely need to get back on the wagon, really, because it has been a while.
We've fallen off the wagon.
Yeah, we have.
No doubt about it.
We have.
Fell right off.
Now, today on the podcast, just FYI, we're drinking Bacardi Coconut, if anybody was interested. Bacardi Coconut-flavoured spirit.
Not a huge fan.
I don't really like it either, to be honest. It's a bit shit. It's kind of like the shit version of Malibu. But, you know, it was... but on that note, thank you to our sponsor,
yes,
Shelley, who gave that to us. She donated it to the podcast cause.
Yeah.
So I completely fucked that up. Thank you. In all seriousness, thank you, Shelley.
Thank you very much
for that. Jesus. Bad. Now, next on the list... we went to the podcasting event the other night.
Yes, we did.
Now, this was the first... This is SMACL, which is the Social Media Club Auckland. And they had their first ever podcasting, meetup, where basically they had a panel of expert podcasters in front of a room full of people, which they were streaming live and tweeting live, out to the world, and people, they basically asked the panel some questions and talked about how do you get a podcast started and why you would do it and all that.
There was
sort of
some
stuff.
fucking retarded questions in the audience.
Was there? I was when you
were too busy tweeting.
Yeah, I was tweeting when the audience was asking questions. I was tweeting.
So there's a couple of things, and you can't begrudge them because people do come to these things to learn.
Yeah.
But I will begrudge them a little bit because people are like, so what platforms are you like? How does a podcast work?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, hold up.
No. You can't
Just
fault that.
read a fucking, just do a bit, literally type in Google, how do podcasts work? Google, motherfucker, have you heard of it?
Google, motherfucker, have you heard of it?
Say what one more time. Say what is a podcast one more time.
Say YouTube one more time.
Go on, say it.
Because people were there was a few people that sort of mentioned why would you podcast instead of YouTubing? And it's it was such an
novice question.
Well, it was, because it's okay, there's a very big difference between a podcast and a YouTube, namely the format. The format is a huge difference. One of them is an audio thing that you put into your phone and you listen to it while you're at the gym or while you're driving or we're going for a jog or whacking off or whatever, and the other one is a visual medium that you've got to watch, which is ideally enjoyed on a big screen. You can watch it on your phone if you want, but it's always a bit shitter. I enjoy watching YouTube videos full screen on a
RedTube videos.
RedTube on a full screen.
It's not as good on your phone.
It's just not. It's not.
In the toilet.
It's got a slow buffering time,
Always freezes it just the wrong time.
Just the wrong time. It's not now, motherfucker.
I'm so close.
And it doesn't even pause on it doesn't even stop buffering on a nice shot of her. It stops buffering on a big cock shot.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, not now.
So anyway,
I lost it.
It's gone.
Or even worse, I came while looking at a dick.
You go, I came to that penis. I fully just came to that guy's penis.
That guy's butt.
I fully came to that ball shot.
Hey, look, we've all been there. You thought you timed it perfectly.
Then, jump cut. Jump cut.
Yeah.
Jump cut to some balls and you're like, no, oh.
Isn't it the worst when the guy is, so he's about to come on the girl's face.
Yeah.
And, but instead of just usually what happens is she'll stop giving him a blowjob or they'll stop fucking or whatever, and then he'll jerk off in her face for a little bit.
Yeah.
Presumably because he's so jaded from fucking women for a living that he needs to close his eyes and, imagine some other situation, even to make himself come. But so anyway, they could edit all of that out, but oftentimes what they'll do is they'll stay on the jerk off shot for far too long while this guy gets himself ready, and you're like, well, when's it coming? When's it coming? How am I supposed to time this?
You go.
What's the story?
Are we waiting?
Is it coming now?
Is it 10 seconds? Is it a minute?
Is it 10 seconds? Is it a minute? Because I've got to modify my pace.
I've got a very specific window here that I'm trying to hit.
Yeah, and then so you're like, well, hang on, I'll just move the mouse so that the bar comes up down the bottom that shows you how far along it is till the end of the video. And then just as you're moving the mouse, he comes. Son of a bitch! And then it pops up next video.
And then you have to rewind it, but then to rewind it has to reload because when it gets to the end of the video, it's like if you go back, it won't let you just watch it again, load it.
Plus, you've lost the element of surprise. There's that. It's not as fresh anymore. You've seen it. You know what happens.
Yeah. You know the ending to this movie.
You know the ending.
It's
exactly.
It's like seeing a movie a second time.
I've seen this one. He comes on her face.
So unoriginal.
So yeah.
So cliche.
But back to the podcast.
Such a trope.
I'm not sure how we went from people asking questions at a podcast event to coming on women's pausing when coming on women's faces.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was I don't begrudge anybody for their questions because that's the whole point of going to these events is to learn about it.
I guess.
Plus, there's something to be said for learning by asking a person directly. Like I don't enjoy Googling to learn things.
I know. That's a big problem, Harley.
I enjoy asking you.
Because that's the thing, is like I have to learn all these things and then pass that information on to you.
Yeah,
as opposed
that's how
to
it works.
you learning the information and us both having more information.
Well, yeah, but if you already know it, there's no point in...
Well, lots of the time I don't know it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, why would I learn it when you can learn it? What the fuck am I paying you for?
But yeah, so you were. I will say it was a cool event.
Yeah, I had a good time. And we almost didn't go.
And we almost didn't go because you forgot.
Yeah, it was like 6:05. The event started at 6. I remember the day before. I said, "Oh, there's this podcasting event tomorrow. We should go." And then on the day of the event, it was 6 o'clock at start. It was 6:05. I had my pants off.
The pants were well and truly off.
I was reading.
You were full. You were in depth reading. You were deep into a book.
I was having another one of my exhaustive reading sessions, and Guy was like, "Are we going to this podcasting event?" And I was like, fuck. And I had no idea what to expect. And we went along, and it was actually really cool.
It was great.
And there was lots of people there. They had like heaps of free booze, and they had free pizza.
Moderated by Chris of the Chris and Sam podcast and Chris of the New Zealand Filmmakers podcast. And he did a great job. And they had some very interesting things. And I'll quickly just say that they had this feed up. So they had these 2 projector screens up. And if you hashtagged Smackle, it would pop up in that feed. And so first off, I was like, you should say talking #Smackle. Talking smack. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did.
I thought that was pretty good.
Originally I was like, that is so lame.
I give myself full credit for that one.
And I was like, I'm not even going to do that. And I tweeted it out without using that, but I didn't have internet. So, and then it didn't work. And then I got the Wi-Fi password, and then I tweeted it, and I was like, all right, then I did it. So second take, I used your talking smack line.
Great moment. A great moment in that feed.
Yeah.
And, but then you started abusing the feed, completely... basically, because it was meant to be talking sort of about like what was going on at the event and talking about the sponsors and like basically, and then one of the was just like, "Hi, I'm Harley," and it just had a photo of you, and, like from some other time.
Yeah,
#Smackle.
Yeah, no, in front of the whole crowd. But to be fair. Mere moments before, one of the guys, or Chris, had the MC, the host, had said, Harley would know this, or Harley, something about me. I can't remember what it
made
was.
A reference to you.
He made a reference to me, and I was like, well, this whole room here is wondering who I am, because he made a reference. Oh, he said, then again, some actors like Harley are really lovely and are more than happy to talk to me. Yeah. That's what he said. So it was like, okay, well, this is the prime opportunity, right? Everybody in the room is like, who the fuck's Harley? One guy in front of us like turned around and looked to me. People were thinking like, I guess, who's this actor Harley.
I don't think anyone was thinking that.
No, of course they were, because why would the host single out this one particular person if he wasn't a person of note?
Yes,
you know,
sir.
And so I had
you
to
took
make
it upon yourself.
Exactly. So that's when I tweeted out the picture of my face saying, "Hi everybody, I'm Harley," and it went down a charm. Everybody laughed. It was good.
And then you also tweeted, some hot girls tweeted back to you.
Yeah, so then some hot girls tweeted back to me a picture of a selfie of those two saying, "Hi, Harley."
I honestly thought you were going to take it one step further.
And just send them a dick pic?
No.
Just tweet a dick pic right then in front of the whole room. Because I'll tell you what, Guy, I'm going to show you a picture. Now, this is actually something that I prepared for. I'm not kidding. I prepared for this.
You've been preparing all your life for this. For some two beautiful women to tweet at you.
I was sitting beside you and you did not notice me take that picture.
Right. So basically, there's a photo of Harley with his finger poking out of his jeans as if it's a penis.
Yeah, out of the fly of my pants.
So he was going to tweet that at the girls. Oh, I just thought you were going to kind of tweet like something like, "So, what are you guys doing after this?" Just like to keep it going a little bit. But you didn't. They're probably for the best.
Well, the thing is,
you didn't want to turn the whole thing into a farce. You didn't want to make it about yourself.
Well, I did want to make it about myself, but I wanted to do so tactfully, and also, you and I are both happily taken men, so there's no point in hitting on hot girls at podcast events. It's best just to stay away from. No good can come from it, really,
exactly.
Can it? No good. So
threesome?
What, you, me, and the girl?
No, you
and the two girls
and Angie.
Oh, and Angie. Yeah,
that would be the best thing to come from.
That'd be a foursome, because there was two girls,
right?
I'm assuming.
Don't be greedy. You just end up with one of them.
Well, yeah. I just.
The probability of that is there's an 11 out of 10 chance that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but like that, on the likelihood of things happening, that is really low. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, right.
And so yeah, but it was good anyway, because they replied. So clearly they liked that picture went down well.
So girls, if you're listening, thanks for joining us on this podcast. If you're not listening, it's a shame you missed out on some interesting conversation.
Smooth. But then the next thing that happened that was kind of interesting was somebody asked this question. Oh, so why would you choose podcasting over YouTubing? What's the difference? And seeing as Guy and I are the YouTube experts,
the maestros,
we got a big plug from the MC saying, well, here are some guys who do YouTubing with the most views of any YouTuber I know, and they do podcasting, so why don't we get one of them up here to have a chat about it? So up I went and answered the question, why YouTubing, why podcasting and stuff. And then afterwards, I put out the picture. I posted another picture of Guy and I from no shit a year and a half ago. That just happened to be on my phone, but it was the only picture I had of him and I
looking quite retarded.
Yeah, I deliberately chose it. Like, Guy's poking his tongue out, and we're both holding bottles of wine.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that photo I sort of remarked that we looked like the Bushwhackers.
Yeah,
the old New Zealand tag team and the wrestling from the 1980s. Luke and Butch. That's us, the Bushwhackers. In that photo.
Fucking the Anywhere Whackers. And,
the Street Whackers.
Fucking the Audition Whackers in your case. And so, but anyway, so I posted a picture saying, you can follow the Guy and Harley, you can listen to the Guy and Harley podcast here, and I put a link through.
So we're hoping this episode, if any of you out there that were attending that podcast, and that this has leapt, the viewers have leapt at this. It's amazing. We've got so many more people. So thank you to them if there's any out there.
Time will tell.
Stick with us. But we also talked to Will Fleming, who was one of the speakers.
Oh shit, yeah, we're still to get that in.
He was one of the speakers. He's our best bud. We're best podcast mates. We've been on his old podcast, Podfellas, and we're going to be on his new podcast one day, we suppose.
Yeah, we've already recorded it, but we keep getting relegated to next time.
We keep
next episode.
We're like, these guys. Yeah, I guess we'll fit them in. When it's a quiet week, we'll plop them out.
I just don't think we have time for all of their rape jokes.
Probably when it's Christmas. when it's around Christmas time and no one's listening to the podcast because they're all out enjoying, the summer, that's when we'll do it. That's when we'll drop it. So, but we'll be there, and it's a damn good interview. So anyway, he was there and he was speaking, and we got this interview with him. Now I was going to say this is the monumental first someone else being on the podcast. It's not actually, because we had Shane and Lydia and Nick on the other podcast. So this is the second time.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah,
too.
I completely forgot about it. And then something in the back of my mind was bothering me about saying this is our first person. But this is our first ever Guy and Harley show. Quick interview with Will Fleming from My Kiwi Life. Here it is.
Welcome to the interview segment of the Guy and Harley podcast.
Now, this is our first ever interview on this podcast, or basically it's our first ever interview, full stop. So this is quite a big deal, and you're quite a momentous figure in the podcasting world. So
we should probably say who it is.
Yeah, this is
Will Fleming.
Will Fleming of My Kiwi Life fame. Top 10 in iTunes for the New Zealand iTunes for podcasts. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you, fellas. Guy and Harley in the flesh. Normally you guys sit inside my ears once a week on the way to work.
Yep.
It's awkward laughing at how many C-bombs you guys drop on your podcast when Guy was pretty much all depressed and Harley turned into not even worrying about records, and he was just like, bro, you got it good. Chill out. That's the first question I said to Guy. Are you alright, man? Because I wanted to reach out. But what's the line there when you're a fan of,
Oh, you should always reach out. I actually forgot when people were asking us, or you asked, and a few people were like, "What about you? You sound really depressed there for a little while." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I was pretty angry."
Yeah, you definitely went through a dark period.
And then also your Harley's advice was just even more annoying to me. Where he's like, "Oh, well, just give up, man. Just give up. That's the answer, guy. Just give up."
Now,
and
to
I
be
was like,
fair,
"Oh, fuck off."
To be fair, that was clearly sarcasm. The answer was stop complaining. That's what I was really saying. But I'm interested to note that was something that stood out for you in your mind, that moment when we forgot we were recording and we were just a couple of mates having a chat.
Yep. So, Will...
Perhaps we should do more of that.
Tell us a little bit about, how you started podcasting and My Kiwi Life.
How I started podcasting. Sorry, this is just the podcaster in me. That's definitely recording, eh? It's just real low, right?
You're looking at... This is my channel.
Okay.
The other channel is recording. You can't see that.
How dare you, William? How dare you say anything to their record? I like your recording setup. This is going great. How I got into podcasting was I moved from driving to catching the bus. I hopped on the bus, and there's only so much the Breeze or My FM that you can handle. So I was thinking, what the hell is everyone else listening to? Maybe, possibly, full of ads.
Radio,
full of resets with guests. That's the thing, you got to reset your guests. So I expect to be reset all the way through this interview. And that was Will with his thoughts on that. So I Googled, what do people listen to on buses? Podcasting came up. I was like, what's that? So I started listening to podcasts like Nerdist and Mark Maron. They were just conversations, and I thought, this is awesome, but who's doing that in New Zealand? The classic DIY Kiwi can-do attitude sent me down this road. All of a sudden, I was booking time with people and talking, and it just turned into this thing. And now we're sitting here doing this conversation, and I can honestly say it's good stuff. It's really fun. It's a good outlet. It's a good way to network. I feel like I get to know... that's the weird thing. Normally in a podcast or a TV show, you won't get to see the actual people, and I'm a little bit starstruck, gents. I'm a big fan. I came to your film premiere of I Survived the Zombie Holocaust.
Well, yeah, we should mention that just briefly, because I recall in our first meeting, you're like, yeah, when I went there, I was like, oh, you guys are going to be dicks. But then I saw you talk, and you guys didn't really seem like dicks.
You got up and thanked everyone at the end, and I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. You do not just stand up and be cool and normal. I was expecting hey, man, pay me. This is awesome. Because that's what you imagine Tom Cruise is like.
Yeah, and we present the aura of Tom Cruise type individuals.
Well, that's my review on your podcast anyway. Kind of the hashtag aura Tom Cruise.
So when you started your podcast, because I like to call you, this is what I say, you're the Mark Maron of New Zealand.
just going to turn around and say, I fucking love it every time you fucking say that to me, you sexy motherfucker.
Yeah, because, basically what you do is you do sort of compelling interviews with people. And they've been pretty much all New Zealand people so far, right?
So far, yeah.
And that's really great because there's this podcast, What the Fuck, over in America, which does interviews with interesting people, and there's these long-form interviews, and they're far better than anything that you're ever going to see on TV because they go deeper, you've got more time, the guests are more relaxed, they don't have to feel like they're on, but nowhere in New Zealand was doing that. We didn't really have interviews like that, except some very, very dry ones on like sort of national radio.
Well, we tried to think the way to do it was like The Office, where you make yourself look as stupid as you can, and then the other person is the audience. But it doesn't work like that because it just comes across crass and silly. So why don't we just treat it normal where tell me about yourself and let's just get talking, and who knows where it goes.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about like some of the people that you've had on and who are you going to have on? Present company excluded, of course.
So I've had you guys on together and individually on different podcasts.
Cash in.
And great guests, might I say.
Thank you.
Harley, I love you, but Guy, I did connect. I felt it must have been we were at a pub. You were hungry.
He was grumpy. He told me he was grumpy.
A hair growth stage, and so you were looking like if the scrap was on, you were going to be part of it. But I'm seeing you tonight. It's a different Harley. You got that Tom Cruise aura back, baby. I'm loving this.
I remember when I was on your podcast for the first time alone. We met at a pub, and I happened to be very grumpy that day. I had just finished. I had a shit day at work. I can't remember what my problem was, but I was genuinely. I think I was tired. I think maybe I'd stayed up late. I had gotten up early. I was, and I really need my 8 hours. I'm an 8 hours guy. Anything less, I start getting cranky. And then I was coming straight from work to the podcast, and then we were doing it at the bar. But then there was 2 other guys as well that I didn't know about, and they had a camera and everything, and I was thinking, fuck, I look like shit. Jesus, lucky I've got a hat on. Otherwise I'd just be rocking the baldy, looking like shit. I almost didn't wear I don't normally wear a hat to work, just luckily that day I did, So yeah, I was a little cranky that day, but I left the podcast feeling great. I really picked me up. I had a great time. I drank, I think it was Dry July as well. I think it was Dry July, so
no wonder you're
so
angry.
I was cranky as fuck. And so I was halfway through Dry July. I was sitting there sipping on my lemonade.
Your hands were trembling.
And then you bought me you bought me a ginger beer, you bought me some food, some chips. Maybe I bought the chips. Either way, the chips were consumed, and I left feeling much, much better. So you really brought me up that day.
Well, yeah. So talk a little bit about who you've had on and who you're going to have coming up now.
Okay, so where this started, I had a podcast where I went and talked to. So I pitched it as Successful Kiwis. Show me behind the curtain. That was my game plan. Go out and meet the real person. So some people I had were like Oscar Kitely, Mike Puru, just people who are in the more media industry.
I just want to say Mike Puru, real estate.
Do you know he does that joke? I work with him, and he does that joke. He always does that joke. Mike Puru, real estate. I'm like, Mike, that's classic. You're classic, Mike. But My Kiwi Life changed a little bit. My attack was more in the vein of, look, speak with these people who have done amazing things, and then break that down into ways I can digest it. I'm not an amazing guy, like I'm very simple. Here's my kind of belief. Things are supposed to be easy. You have children, you love them. It's easy. That's already laid out there. Fat tastes good because it's good for you. It's the sugar that's the nasty stuff.
Although that tastes good too.
And that's a life hack. So that's having an affair, okay? That's the sugar in life.
I see.
But the bit that I wanted to work out how these people operate at a high level and then break that down. So how I came up with it is I saw John Oliver interviewing Edward Snowden.
Right.
And no one gave a shit about the dick pics until they called it a dick pic. You could send an email that would go through all these servers. No one cared. They went to the street. Then they said, how would you feel if I took a picture of a guy's dick and Harley's dick? and put it online. Your fans would like it. I know how you guys roll in the States, but that's cool. You got an audience. Hit that shit up.
They might not be that impressed. But.
A little underwhelmed.
But if you guys knew that it was going through all these people and all the people could look at it, it changes the conversation. And a light bulb went off. I said, well, it's the scientists that have amazing stories, but no one's getting it out of them because they're too sciencey. So that's kind of where it started. And I've had some cool guests on the show. I've had a fat professor whose whole study is eating fat's good for you, because that's how we did it when we were Ooga Boogers.
That's very, and I mean, I've sort of listened to a little bit of the Tim Ferriss podcast where they talk a little bit about that as well. It looks like it's going to be the next trend in sort of dieting.
Yeah, it's a ketogenic diet, and it's all about high fat, and someone told me as well that that's how the All Blacks eat. But they can't do it publicly. They eat Weet-Bix publicly. They eat Gatorade publicly.
Right.
But they won the World Cup, and the fitness coach said it's because they were eating high fat. They were feeding their bodies right. So I went in with this guy, Grant Schofield. He talks about his life. It was amazing that he told me he was lazy and he's a professor. How do those two things come together? The second guest I had was the boxer, Dave Latelli, the brown butterbean.
Yep.
And, mongrel mob upbringing, all the things stacked against you. What is it in him that makes him positive now to help people? Yeah. So it's those things that I don't get. I was loved as a child. I know it sounds cheesy. I had a soft childhood, very easy, and I don't have that drive. I don't have that comedian spark that got bashed as a kid. So that's my drive. So I'm worried that I'm missing something, I'm missing the edge. But I'm realizing that there is no edge. If you just acknowledge that, hey man, tough times can be tough, then you're on the right path.
Yeah, well, I think those conversations that you've been having have been fascinating. So I think if you enjoy podcasts that are a bit more serious than our one,
I love you guys.
but you sort of want to know about people, and you don't want to know about how they go about doing the things they do, and you're sort of talking to sort of quite successful people, or people doing very interesting things, interesting work. And so it's a great podcast. So we highly recommend that, My Kiwi Life.
.com.
And do you have anything else, Will, you'd like to say before signing off?
I'm just a bit gutted, really, that this isn't a standard episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. This is very formal. I feel like we should up the cunts, and we should get back to some guy whinging about stuff. Harley going, bro, it's not too bad, all right? You're doing, hey, Guy, you're part of an elite club. You think about all the people that weren't nominated, and I'm with you, man.
Right. Well, okay, then we'll just sort of going off on that tangent just briefly. Now,
some troll files.
The troll hole.
That one.
Well, we haven't. We should bring the troll hole back. It's been a while since we've had an opportunity.
To be fair, we haven't had any trolling on us. Everyone loves it. All the haters are gone. We need new haters because all the old ones started liking us.
Yeah. But yeah, so you do a lot of podcasting now. You're late to get back to your family, who thought you'd be back by now. Is this affecting your family life? Have you become a worse father through doing the podcast?
Fuck yeah. The one saving thing is when the podcast went to iTunes top 10.
Yep.
Moni, my wife.
Yes.
She's German, and you've seen her. She looks grumpy. She doesn't mean to, but that's just a German thing.
Okay, is it true that Germans, because I dated a German, she didn't have the best sense of humour?
It's 100% true. It's accurate. All right? Now, this is the thing with Germans is they will say, Guy, you have a booger on your nose. You're so stupid. Why you walk around with a booger? With a Kiwi won't tell you. Yeah. He'll tell his mate, bro, Guy's got a fucking booger on his nose. But the thing is that we will go, I don't want to embarrass Guy. Yeah. So we won't say that. So the Germans are blunt, and that's good. But it's hard when they're being blunt to you, like, William, you're too fat, you run like elephant. But I still love you if you lose weight. So yes, to be fair, it's tough to do the podcast, to do work, to try and balance not being a dick at home. Moni actually said to me the other day, it's a shame sometimes because the best bits of you come out with these guests. And it was hard because I was like, I'm so sorry, sweetie.
She just gets all the crap that's left over, is it?
Well, also, okay, we'll just quickly also just mention we went to the Kevin Smith Q&A. and which is where I met her. And but just talk a little bit about it. She wasn't very happy about being there for 3 hours. She was not a Kevin Smith fan at all.
The best bit she liked is when Kevin Smith read at the start a tweet that said, "There's a lot of beards in this room," and Monty was like, "Yeah, I agree. Das ist stimmt." That means this is real. Let's go through some bad words in German. Pimmel is a pimple cock.
Pimmel.
So, because you guys got German fans, and they'll be listening to this. Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. That's hello, everyone from Germany.
Okay.
Any messages you want to send to the German listeners?
Or just, we love you and enjoy I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. It's very gory.
Der Film I Survived the Zombie Holocaust sind echt gut. It's very good. Und der Guy hat gesagt, he said, bitte, what's by? They probably get it anyway. So there you go. Go buy the film.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, what's gory in German?
I don't know if they have a word for gory.
Violent, I guess.
This is schlecht. Like,
Schlecht.
That also means not good. I know these words because these are words that come at home.
That's what you hear a lot.
William, du bist schlecht. That's me, fellas. I got to go.
Oh, wonderful.
I got to try and make up with my wife. She's calling in the pocket.
Okay.
Love to all your listeners. Check out mykiwilife.com.
Please do.
We keep it clean.
Yep.
So that's cool.
So, yeah, if you want to see something a little bit more interesting, we're a little bit more involved, talking about people, talking about the stuff they do, My Kiwi Life will. Thank you very much.
The troll hole. Lovely. Thanks, dudes.
And that was Will Fleming.
That was on location at the podcast.
We brought down the laptop, we did it, and that's what we're going to do a bit more of. We're going to do a bit more of these mobile recordings. We may have to upgrade our microphones. We've got Rapstar microphones. I think we're going to have to upgrade to SingStar microphones. There's a bit of kind of noise when the wires move. There's always a bit of noise. Yeah, it's quite annoying.
Right.
So I think we're going to try and get some secondhand Trade Me SingStar microphones.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Is that another thing we're paying for?
That's correct, sir.
That's another thing we're buying. Does anybody out there,
$35.
of all of our listeners, do you guys have any of your old SingStar microphones just lying around?
They're still playing them, man.
Yeah, but maybe like you don't really use your PlayStation or Xbox as much as you used to. Maybe you've got a few old SingStar microphones in the attic. Just hook us up, and we will give you a shout out. You can be the official sponsor of the next episode.
That's right, because otherwise I'm going to have to go and Trade Me. We're looking at $35, and we've just been blowing out the bank.
If you would like to donate $35 to Guy and Harley, you can do so on PayPal by going, you just need my email address, which is harleyneville@hotmail.com. So if you feel like, contributing $35, you will totally we'll call the next episode your name, okay?
And if you feel like donating more than that, you can also do that, because we've just spent, this week, we're spending, what have we spent? $400, I think, on hard drives and some programs to, for upgrading our camera. So hard drives for storing what we shoot. The programs are for converting those raw images to be manageable to edit. We spent, I think, a further $400 last week as well on hard drives and these CF cards, again, for being able to shoot in this format. So we're actually
there's more coming too.
And there's more coming,
because I want to get a good sound mix done on this poem we're going to film.
Yeah,
which is going to cost money.
And let's not forget,
and there might be a score.
Yeah, so
potentially.
We're blowing out the bank at the moment, and so if you want to help us out, you can.
So by that is harleyneville@hotmail.com on PayPal, and you can just
any donation is very welcome.
Yeah. Now, Will from the My Kiwi Life podcast, he is part of a network. The name of that network is
what?
You don't know?
No.
All right. Well, they're part of a network.
Well, what are you going to tell? You're going to set me up like that? Why would I know that?
I assumed you would know the name of the network that they're all in.
No, it's something like the New Zealand Podcasters Network or something, but I have no idea.
Sorry, guys. But anyway, they're part of a network. and we potentially might be joining said network.
Stitched me up with that one.
Well, I thought you'd know.
No prep.
To be fair, I thought you would know.
Well, why wouldn't you know? You brought it up.
Well, this is a fluent conversation, okay? That's how it works.
Fluently transition the information required to me to find out.
Well, I just assumed you'd know.
No, I'm not sure.
You're a big podcaster, big podcast listener as well.
That's true.
Now, so anyway, they are part of a New Zealand podcasting network, and we are potentially going to, we're in discussions to potentially join this network. Now, I was a little bit concerned. So I spoke to the boss, Paul from the New Zealand Tech.
Well, he has a New Zealand Tech podcast.
Yep. And I spoke to him and I said, I told him very abruptly and upfront, I said, now, if we join this network, Paul, are we going to be able to say the word cunt? Because I don't want to take that away from our listeners, you know? I was thinking of you guys.
Certain expectations.
They expect a certain amount of C-bombs per episode.
And they will feel like they've been cheated. That we've misled them, that we've betrayed their trust.
We've sold out.
So, can we do that? And what did he say?
Well, no, he said that was fine.
Okay.
But of course,
because I'd be quite willing to stop using that word if he deemed it necessary.
Too far, yeah. Well, to be fair, I could probably lose cunt rather. But the thing about it was that cunt was really code for, do we need to stop talking about rape, pedophilia, racism, sexism? Do we need to really watch what we say? Because do we become ambassadors of said network? Because part of the beauty of our podcast is that we get up here and we say whatever we want, and the only repercussion is stuff that might come back to your career or my career, right? But there's nobody else.
The only repercussion is that we have no career. That's the only repercussion. So that's fine.
But he said no. That's fine. He said we can do whatever we want.
Well, because what I was going to say is to completely renege on that.
Yeah.
And go like, look, if you want us to make some modifications to fit in with, what you guys are doing, we'll do that. We'll do that. If it means that we get maybe 50 more people listening a week, we'll do whatever you say, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Paul. We'll do whatever you say.
Well, the thing about it, too, is that that will make the value of these old episodes go up. When we become rich and famous, like people will be like, oh yeah, back in their podcast, back before they were censored,
back before they had to watch what they said, and they were just these renegade, rogue assassins putting out hits on people.
Society,
and reality television.
All right, we're talking shit now, but that might be happening potentially. And yes, just FYI, I'm totally willing to. Fuck it, I want to say cunt.
Well, it might just have to be censored.
Just beep it out.
Well, what would you do for an extra, let's say, 100 listeners per week? Would you take that word out?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm more than happy to lose the word cunt.
Yeah.
The word cunt itself doesn't bother me.
Uh-huh.
I guess I would just feel a little bit hesitant about censoring our opinions about things, and not being able to make bad jokes about earthquakes in Christchurch.
If I can't complain about the state of my career and how unfairly I've been treated.
Well, obviously you're about to do that. You're going to be able to do that. But you're not going to be able to make rape jokes about kids at the pool.
I don't make any jokes about kids at the pool.
Splashing kids in the face at the pool. Man dicks at the pool. Devastating earthquakes in Christchurch. If we can't touch any of that stuff, it could affect us.
If we can't touch on those kids, I'm not sure I want to be part of this thing anymore.
Ah, dear. What was it last week? Homophobic, sexist, and pedophile. I can't remember what it was from last week.
Right.
But yes, anyway.
I thought it wasn't last week. Wasn't too bad.
No,
we've gone off the rails on this one because you keep bringing this stuff up.
Well, we started off good. So, I think that might be all of my topics.
Well, that's good because this is going to be a long-ass podcast.
Well, how long's that other thing?
It's 10 minutes.
That's a perfect length.
It's the perfect length, 1 hour and a half. They were talking at the podcast that 30 minutes was the perfect length.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey.
Well, our podcast is 3 times perfect.
Yeah. Look, you get 3 for the price of 1. You know, that's like a couple of trips in your car and back to
Well,
work.
exactly. If you've got an hour commute, you don't want a half-hour podcast. You've got to stop halfway through on the highway and fucking change podcasts. I don't think so.
You got to wait for the podcast to roll over automatically to the next one on your iTunes. Fuck that. Just listen to the same one because it's still going.
Exactly.
All right.
So thank you very much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast. Proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.